Hello again. This is Phil Blount, and I'm president of Icons, and you know that we make the high quality, the amazingly detailed brand of die-cast cars, University of Racing, authentic in every way. And we're continuing our efforts to educate all you fans about the amazing cars and the iconic drivers that made this sport what it is today. And I can't tell you how excited I am today, because I've got one of the neatest guys on the planet here to talk to you, and that's the Hall of Famer, Mr. Cale Yarborough.
Glad to be with you.
And y'all have heard all the numbers for Cale, and Cale, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember 83 victories, 3 Cup Championships, and what makes that even amazing, just to say it, is 3 consecutive Cup Championships. I believe it was 76, 77, 78. Amazing. Amazing. And
a record that stood for 30-some years.
And Jimmy Johnson broke it. Amazing. Probably, I didn't think it'd ever be broken, honestly.
All records will be broken.
Yeah, that's why they're made, right? But you know that we've made 2 cars that Cale drove, and we're going to get to that. But I'm going to tell you that I think this is seriously one of the most intriguing men I've ever met. And I'm going to ask him some questions. He doesn't know what I'm going to ask him, but I'm going to ask him some questions about Cale Yarborough, him as a person, as a human being, because I think you'll find him amazingly interesting as well. So, Cale, you've got a great story, and maybe start with your youth, if you will, maybe up to high school, because that's some great background, and you've just told me some information about your parents I didn't know. So I'm going to hush and just talk a little bit about who you are, your youth, and then we'll get into racing. But I think it's so interesting the kind of person you are, and your background is what has made you who you are.
Well, thank goodness I was born on a farm. I was born a country boy.
Yeah.
And my family were farmers, and my father got killed when he was 31 years old in an airplane, and of course I was the oldest of 3 boys, and it put a lot of responsibility on me.
Wow.
Even at that age.
Cannot imagine.
But I wouldn't take, I think being born and raised on a farm has helped me throughout my entire life. I milked a cow before I went to school in the mornings. I plowed a mule in the afternoons before I went to ball practice. And having done that kind of work growing up and all, it never left me.
Yeah.
It stayed with me throughout my entire life.
Yeah. I before we started this, I would tell you, I would describe Cale, because I really enjoy getting to know him through the years of doing these cars. But he's a tough guy, yet he's extremely honest, hard-working. He just talked about how driven he is. He's been successful in, obviously, racing, but sports. I want him to talk to you about that, tell you some information about that, sports, business, life. He's been successful in life. He's figured it out. So would you talk a little bit about that, Cale? Tell him a little bit about your history in sports.
Well, I always loved sports, and I played all sports in high school, and would have gone to Clemson if I hadn't already started racing. So I went to Clemson and stayed a couple of weeks, and told Coach Frank Howard that I had one more race to run in South Carolina to win the state championship. And he says, "Boy," he called me boy. He says, "Boy, if you leave, you take your clothes with you." So I did just what he said. I packed and I left. And of course he called the next week, wanting to know when I was coming back. But I told him, I said, "Coach, I've made up my mind that instead of playing football, I'm going to drive race cars for a living.
Wow.
And he said, well, I'm going to tell you what, you'll starve to death. Exact words he said. And, but you know, after that, he became a big fan.
Wow.
He would call me and says, Cale, I'd sure love to go to Talladega. I'd sure love to go to Daytona or somewhere. And he would go. And I never forget, I won a race in Talladega, and Coach Howard was in the pits.
Wow.
And we went to Victory Lane, and Coach walked up to me and he put his hands on my shoulder and he says, boy, he said, I want to tell you, I ain't never been wrong many times in my life, but I just want to tell you I was wrong this time. So we became good friends. And later on, when I was nominated for the South Carolina Athletic Hall of Fame, you really aren't supposed to know who put your name in the pot. But I found out through the grapevine it was Frank Howard. Frank Howard.
Wow. So obviously you were everything in football.
Yeah.
Now you also boxed, I believe.
Boxed, Golden Gloves, and then I played 4 years of semi-pro football. And but during the Frank Howard time and all, when I left and all, I got a letter from the Washington Redskins, an invitation to come to tryouts.
Right.
Of course, I was in the race, and I'd already made up my mind.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to do. And I got no way to prove it, but I'll guarantee you that came from Coach Howard too. He got in touch with somebody.
Darn.
And
that's great.
He said, if y'all want a young man that can put a football in his hand, can't nobody catch him.
Wow.
He's the one to get.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's a great story. Yeah. Well, so there we've gone up until high school. That had to be a tough choice because you love sports. You excelled in boxing and football, but yet you chose racing. What was it about racing that made you pick that over?
Well, before my dad got killed, he loved racing.
Okay.
And he would take me to the short tracks around. I was a little boy and all, and he just loved it. And he got me interested in it. And like I say, growing up on a farm and all, we had a little farm shop out there. So they built a quarter-mile dirt track in Sumter, and which is only 25 miles from here. But so I built my first race car to run at the quarter-mile dirt track in Sumter. And,
you built it yourself?
I drove it myself, yeah. And and I just got hooked, and then when I finally went to see the first Southern 500 in Darlington, I was really hooked then. I knew what I was going to do.
Right. Okay, now, I bet these folks hear that and they just think, okay, you went to racing and all of a sudden, boom, you had plenty of money, plenty of success. But I remember hearing you tell a story that really was impactful to me. You started at Holman Moody, if I remember correctly, with a broom in your hand.
Sweeping the floor, yeah.
Sweeping the floor at Holman Moody.
Sweeping the floor at Holman and Moody, hoping that something would come available.
Wow. And
$1.25 an hour.
$1.25, and at this time you were married.
Yeah, married and had a little girl.
So how did you make ends meet? I tell them, if you will, the can of beans story.
Well, how you make ends meet is not spend more than you make.
Yep.
That's the way you make ends.
That's great advice.
That's
great advice.
We, Betty Jo and my little daughter Julie, we lived in a little cottage down on the lake that belonged to John Holman. And we knew how much money we had to spend for groceries every week. So we had a little grocery store that we went to every Saturday night to buy our groceries for the week, and knew how much we could spend. And we had gotten all our grocery shopping done and was headed back up to the checkout counter and came through a wooden pallet of black-eyed peas sitting in the middle of the floor. And 10 cents a can. And I said, Betty Jo, I said, this is a big bargain here. We can do some good here. We went back and put everything we had back on the shelves and went and bought every can of black-eyed peas that our budget would allow. Now, we had black-eyed peas for breakfast, and black-eyed peas for dinner, and black-eyed peas for supper. But they got us through.
You do what you got to do, right?
Do what you got to do.
Oh, gosh. All right. I just love that story. I'm going to interrupt. I didn't tell y'all this. We're sitting here in Cale's shop on his beautiful, I call it a plantation. I mean, it's like Bonanza.
Yes, 4,000 acres.
4,000 acres.
4,000 acres. Yeah.
Oh, and y'all can't see it, but back here he's got ponds that he's dug himself.
Yep.
With, I mean,
yeah, 30-acre lake right there.
It's just beautiful. It's just beautiful. This is quite a treat. Quite a treat. Okay, so Cale Yarborough. What makes you tick? What makes you the kind of person you are, be it in racing, be it in business? What's your, I don't know if you believe there's a secret to success or secrets to success, but what makes you like you are?
Well, what makes you success in business or sports or life is believing in yourself.
Yeah.
Not afraid of hard work.
Right.
Treat people right. And usually things will fall in place.
That almost sounds biblical.
Well, it's coming from my Bible.
Yeah, that's great. That's great advice. So let's say that again. Know who you are.
Yeah, believing in yourself.
Believe in yourself.
Yep. And not afraid of hard work.
Not afraid of hard work.
And being dedicated.
Being good to people.
Yeah, being good to people. Yep.
Wow. Great advice.
Yep.
Great advice.
That's just a few. There are a lot of things you've named.
Yeah, but that's the foundation for success. It's worked for you, and it'll work for all of us.
Yeah.
All of us. Okay, let's talk about two cars. First, the 1965 Galaxy, number 27, that you drove, and I believe this was for Banjo.
Banjo Matthews. Yep.
And I immediately think of this car, and it's because of all the photos I've seen of that famous over the rail at Darlington.
Yep.
And I laugh every time I think. I mean, it wasn't funny then, but I laugh at what you said when you went over. Now I don't remember. Was that like how big of a drop was that when you?
Oh, well, it must be 40 feet or better. Straight down.
Straight down.
Side, yeah.
And I'm gonna let you tell it because it's a great story. But when you hit the ground, and you saw grass all around you, what?
Well, I saw the grass heading out. That's when I knew I was in trouble. When I saw grass, I knew it wasn't no grass on that racetrack. And when I hit the ground, thank goodness, the good Lord was with me. And, you know, they didn't have ambulances out there, so I had to climb back up the bank to get in the.
No.
Yeah, to get in an ambulance. In fact, I got in the back of a pickup truck just to go make sure that.
You also told me that the year you did this was it was a famous year, and I don't even remember the event, but some astronauts, they had shot some astronauts up in circling the moon and stuff, and you felt like you were an astronaut when you went.
Sure did.
Okay, is there any other stories that come to mind from this car? Because this has been a great seller. It's a beautiful that banjo kind of, isn't it poppy red? Is that
poppy red?
Poppy red, yeah.
Yeah. Banjo was a good guy and a good car owner, and I just and he gave me this opportunity. This was the first big opportunity that I had.
Okay.
This was my first big opportunity, and he he gave me a big shot in the arm.
No kidding. That's great. Well, you had success in of course, every car you drove, and certainly this one. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you've expressed how much you like this car as far as the quality and workmanship and the detail in that. So, and then, of course, the other car is the famous number 21 Wood Brothers car. And one of the first things people say to me about that is this 60-minute cleaners. Is there any kind of is there a story about that? Was that was a sponsor for all your cars?
That was a sponsor. They were a new cleaners franchise.
Okay.
Cleaners, and they were just getting started, and
do you remember where
they were based out of somewhere in Florida.
Florida, okay.
But I had purchased one of the franchises.
Oh.
So when
wow.
So when I got it with the Wood Brothers and all, and we got to talking about it, and they said, I said, y'all might like to sponsor a race team.
Wow.
Get your name out there. So they did.
Well, of course, when you hear Wood Brothers, you think of Leonard and how much of a wizard he was working on cars.
Yeah.
And you being a mechanic, knowledgeable yourself about what makes the car go, I bet that was a lot of fun.
Well, it was. They were good people to work with, and still good friends to today. They were just great people. Yeah,
yeah. Well, these two cars have been great sellers. We still have inventory of them. Go to our website, universityofracing.com, look at them, and let us know if we can help with any of your questions there. Last question. Would you do it again? The life you've had, the racing, I know it's been tough on you physically, a lot of demands still. People like me badgering you. Would you do it again?
I'm a knock on wood and tell you that there are very few things in my life that I would change.
Wow.
I've been very, very blessed.
What a great statement.
Very, very, very blessed, and good Lord's been good to me.
Yeah, and I know you. I've heard you talk and brag about your family, how important your family is to you. And
got the same wife for 57 years.
Wow, 57 years.
Yep, 3 daughters, 6 grandchildren, 3 girls and 3 boys, and a great grandson.
Wow, wow. And I said this last, but I remember you telling me a story about how you met your wife.
Right.
You mind telling that?
Well, she was. I had a job. A cousin of mine had a dairy, and I was milking cows for him.
Right.
And she was working at a drugstore in Atlanta, just a few miles down the road.
Right.
And somebody came by one day and said, there's the prettiest little girl working at that drugstore you ever saw in your life. So I said, well, I'm going down there and look at her. And I did, and
rest is history. Right?
Yeah, well, rest is history. We dated for a couple of years, and been married for 57 years.
That's great.
And she still looks almost as good as she did when I met her in the grocery store.
Wow.
I mean, the drugstore.
Drugstore. Wow. Wow. That's really neat. Yeah. Well, Cale, thank you for this time just to learn more about you. You're a great guy. I've really enjoyed getting to know you personally.
Well.
And I hope you all enjoyed it, and thank you all for your ongoing support of University of Racing.
And let me tell you this, these are great products.
Thank you.
Great products.
Thank you. Thank you. Coming from Cale Yarborough, he doesn't say stuff he doesn't mean it.